player. Come after me! I'm a man! I'm for you! Can't wait! Let's go!
All right, what's going on, everybody? We're back with another episode of the Bases Loaded podcast. Last week, past couple weeks have been on Thursday. We're giving you a special edition on a Friday night here. But yeah, so we got JG here with us.
Been on Thursday.
Aaron, unfortunately, can make it this week. He's stuck at work. Life happens. Eventually, you'll see the three of us on at the same time. I promise you that. Maybe even next week. There's a teaser for Thursday. But JG, man, how you doing? How you doing?
Man, I'm doing good. We just, as I just said before hopping on, we just finished up our semester right now. So I got a month off of coaching out in Arkansas. I'm in Fort Worth right now. I'll be in Louisiana in a week and kind of enjoying my break and still doing a little bit of recruiting here and there. But this is some time off to recharge the batteries and hopefully get myself ready mentally for the spring for us. But doing good so far. Begin our trek for the holidays now.
Okay. I mean that's actually where we probably could start with. It is the holiday season, so hope everybody's enjoying it. I mean, Christmas is only a few days away. Kind of crazy to think that. Next thing you know, we'll be into 2024 or 25.
24.
The years are completely lost on me. So yeah, 2024. But yeah, so let's go ahead and we'll get started with, I guess, the main story once again. Ohtani, we already know he signed the $700 million. He's deferred all this kind of money. Like, what do you think about the structure of the contract? Because it's something we haven't seen, like, ever. So
we have seen deferred money. That is something that is common. To this level where it's 95, 96% of the contract, no, we've never seen anything like this before. And kind of how I talked in the morning show with Chris and Mo is this is going to draw a lot of attention from other owners throughout Major League Baseball. The small market teams are not going to be happy about this because essentially the description I put on it was you're signing players now to a credit card. You're charging a credit card where you're paying you acquire the player now and you'll pay later. And that's essentially what this is. It's a 10-year contract for $700 million, but technically it's actually a $700 million contract for 20 years that you're only going to pay a fraction of for the first 10 years. And then by that point, Ohtani's retired and you'll start paying him at that point. Then, so right now it's okay. Hey, yeah, $2 million for the best play. $2 million. Think about it. $2 million per year for the best player, one of the best players in baseball. That's absurd to think of. And if you're a small market team and you know that the Dodgers can afford to do it because, yes, they're going to get the revenue for what Ohtani is going to bring in, jersey sales, TV revenue, national televised games. Like everything's just going to be skyrocketed for the prices of tickets in LA are starting to go up even more, and they'll still sell out those games. So the revenue is going to make it up for what they're going to end up having to pay him when he's retired. But small market teams can't get away with that. So you're going to have owners like the Pirates. You're going to have owners like the Marlins. You're going to have owners, of the Guardians, and these small market owners are going to sit there and say this is not right. And in doing so, which is what we always talk about with the CBA talks and the collective bargaining agreement talks and players versus owners, this might be something that cracks the owners when it comes down to how business is going to be conducted. Because it does create an unfair playing field where a team like the Dodgers can get away with this. And I'm saying they did nothing wrong. They didn't break rules in this. This is a loophole in the CBA that allows teams to do this. Any team has to do it, and many teams have. Mm-hmm. But not to, as we said, not to this level. And I think this is something that's going to be a big conversation in owners' meetings. It's probably already been a big conversation with owners right now. You already had a lot of teams that have been outspoken against what the Dodgers have done. And this is something that's going to create probably a friction for a little while because of what the Dodgers decided to do, and in doing so, it makes things a little bit interesting moving forward and how business gets conducted throughout this year, but also in future free agencies.
Yeah, that's a good point, because most people kind of just look at the deal and just say, oh, the Dodgers were smart and they're maneuvering here, and Ohtani clearly just wanted to be in a winning organization. But yeah, you have to worry with the smaller markets, because they're already at a disadvantage because they don't have the revenue or the resources like the Yankees, Red Sox, Dodgers. So they're already behind the eight ball there. But now, if these bigger markets are going to start doing stuff like this, they'll have no chance to get anybody. So yeah, that's going to create, like you said, a bigger divide between the haves and the have-nots.
To which then as well, if you're the Dodgers in this case, so all the money you're making right now, which they're setting records right now, just jersey sales. Again, we're not even talking about TV sales because the season hasn't started yet. And right now, they're setting jersey record sales. All that money's going to do is just sit in an account. They'll put a percentage each year of that money in an account. It'll sit, and then when it's time to pay him July 1st, when it's time to pay Ohtani the $68 million July 1st of 2034, the money's already there.
Mm-hmm.
Is it really hurting the Dodgers at that point? No, it's not. So again, that's why I call it's paying Shohei Ohtani on a credit card now. Sign him now, pay him later.
Yeah. What's going on, Gene and Key? I mean, look, baseball's financial structure was already somewhat broken. Although some of that you could probably blame the smaller market owners for not necessarily wanting to pay more. But then again, they don't bring in the revenue like the other teams, so it is a weird situation. But yeah, it's going to be crazy to see how future free agencies go, where a team seemingly without room, you would think, to bring on bigger names just follows the Ohtani method to sneak them in. And now, look, the Dodgers just made a trade for Glass now, so they can now afford him because they have to re-sign him. They're going to sign him to a new contract because that's kind of the conditions of him going to LA. Like, who knows where it's going to stop with the Dodgers this offseason.
So, no, absolutely, and yeah, the avenues of what, and again, Yamamoto is still out there, and they're still interested in Yoshinobu Yamamoto. So, I mean, you're talking about signing, $110 $110 million extension, so it's going to be $135 million that he's paying, that they're going to be into paying to Tyler Glass now. Yep. Yamamoto is still wanting a lot of money in his deal. Where does this stop? And again, that $2 million does not kick into it doesn't really hurt the Dodgers in the luxury tax that they're already in right now. That's $2 million. That's later on. That's when the money really starts kicking in and what's going to. So brilliant. I'll say this: it's absolutely brilliant. Mm-hmm. As much as I don't want to praise the Dodgers, I've grown to hate the Dodgers being cross country rivals with my Braves and even old time NL West rivals, Braves and Dodgers. I don't like to praise them, but this was absolutely brilliant. But the best part about it too is why the Dodgers can sit back and laugh is that the other teams had an opportunity to agree to this structure. Mm-hmm. The Giants and Blue Jays both did agree to this structure of the contract structure that Ohtani wanted, and the only one who wasn't, as I posted in their group, was the LA Angels. Which, my goodness, that is par for the course for the Angels to be. The Blue Jays and Giants agreed to this structure too. Now it became a 3-team selection. Who was going to be the team that he signs with, and he chose the Dodgers. So it's not like the Dodgers did anything that nobody else can do. Other teams can do it. Other teams agreed to it with Ohtani, and we've had other teams who have done deferred money. Like I just said, just not to this level. But like I said, I do see it being a conversation with owners, and some owners are just not going to be happy at how this is going to be, and will there be changes to the structure of how this is allowed? To be determined. Mm-hmm. But is there going to be conversations with amongst the owners at meetings about this? Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. Bobby Bonilla walked so Shohei could run. Because Bonilla's still getting that, was it like $1.5 million or something from the Mets?
Which, a little around that, yeah. It was like 1.7 or something like that $1 million on July 1st.
It's still hilarious that he's still getting that all these years later. But yeah, I mean, looking at Ohtani with the Dodgers now, let's look at his former team, the Angels, because I think a lot of people are looking at this as, okay, so you lost Ohtani for nothing. Why not just go ahead and trade Mike Trout while you're at it? What's the point? The Angels came out and said they have no plans on trading him. I mean, do you think that's the right way to go about it? Because we know when Trout's healthy, 5-tool player and all that. But shouldn't the Angels kind of just hit reset and just start it over? Why would they want to keep Trout?
They can't because they have other contracts that are on their books that they're stuck with. Anthony Rendon comes to mind. That's one of the worst contracts you can talk about in Major League Baseball. And so they can't sell and rebuild until those contracts are gone. So you might as well keep Trout and do attempt, because at the same time, it's how I look at it is you have to do right to Ron Washington to at least attempt to compete. And even though they're not going to compete, we already know they're one of the. Thankfully, the LA Angels should be very thankful that the Oakland A's and soon to be Las Vegas A's are still in the AL West, because we're talking about the Angels being the worst team in this division. But thankfully that the A's are still there. But they have to do right because, again, Ron Washington signed on to a 3-year contract, not a 4-year or 5-year contract to manage the Angels. He was a 3-year contract. So knowing that he's an older manager, he's probably it's not a long-term play for Ron, to be a manager. It's going to be 3 to 5 years, and he's hoping that he has enough success to get that extra 2 or 3 years down the road. You have to at least do right to attempt to compete and try to be competitive in the division for Ron Washington, for him because he had opportunities to he could have gone to the Astros. He could have been a manager for the Astros, which was a team that was ready to compete right then and there. And there's other opportunities that he passed up to go to the Angels, which again, that was his choice. Mm-hmm. But in order to do right with Ron, you have to be able to compete. But at the same time, is you have bad contracts. You cannot, if you trade Trout, you're still stuck because of that Anthony Rendon contract is still on the books. You're still paying money for other players that you had to eat money from. Albert Pujols, you're still paying Pujols right now for the contract that he signed with them after trading him to again, talk about deferred money. There's some deferred money from the Pujols contract, so they're still paying Albert Pujols right now, even though he's retired at this point. But so you might as well hold on to Trout and try to be competitive. And at some point, they're going to make that decision where they're just going to say, we'll trade Rendon and eat the majority of the money of the contract, which is what they're going to end up having to do if they go down that road. And then they'll turn around and trade Trout too. But right now, until they figure out how to get rid of Rendon, there's nothing they can do about that. And they're going to just hold on to Trout and try to make sure that they can at least build something that's relatively competitive. Maybe not for the division, because you do have the Astros and Rangers that are still there and they're in the right direction, but at least make an attempt to be a wild card team. Who knows? They could build something to be able to do that, but there's nothing there for them to try to rebuild because of the bad contracts they have agreed and signed over the last few years.
I mean, look, as a Red Sox fan, I know too much about bad contracts and having to eat money to get them out of town. And yeah, it's not a good way of doing business. And plus for the Angels, you keep Trout. At least it's a reason for people to go to the ballpark, as long as he's obviously playing. But like, if you move him, what are Angels fans showing up to watch? Nothing. Mm-hmm. So at least in that case, it's somewhat beneficial to him.
In which case, if you go down that direction, then you do become the Oakland A's, because as you said, there's nothing you're not having. You've kind of seen what the future is. It's not really that great right now. You had guys that that they were hoping that would be a young partner for Trout. Joe Adele comes to mind. He didn't pan out. You have guys that were hyped up to be the next generation for the Angels and help them be competitive, and they failed so far. On top of the bad signings and moves they've done, and they've struck out. So yeah, they're kind of stuck right now. There's nothing they can do. And again, if they trade Trout, they're admitting that they're in a full rebuild, and they're going to be farther down the hole more than they are right now. So try at least be competitive, and if it fails down the road, then they can make that move and say, all right, yeah, we're gonna commit to a rebuild, and by that point, Ron Washington more likely will be retired as well.
Yeah, I mean, some tough days in LA for Angels fans, but a team that we did bring up, the Giants, who past couple of years have swung and missed on some big names. They finally got their man. They got the dude Lee from Japan. Who I think was a pretty sought-after bat. They were able to land him. It's the contracts for what 100 and I just had it pulled up here. Actually says he's Korean. Okay, I thought it was Japanese, but
Korean.
Jung-Hoo Lee for what's the contract for? Okay, I don't know. I don't see it. But anyway, they missed on Judge, missed on Correa. Even though I'm like the Giants, they're one of the tougher teams to predict because it feels like when you think they're going to be bad, they make a run to the playoffs and then a run at a World Series title. Then if you think they're going to be good, they're like worse in the division. And I just don't get it with them. But now that they have their guy, I mean, how would you grade the signing for the Giants?
I mean, it's incomplete right now, just because again, he is one of the better players in the Korean that's come from Korea. That there's a lot of hype about him, and when you have guys that are come from Asia that have this kind of hype, they do follow through with. You talk about as far as offensively. Hideki Matsui comes to mind, and you being a Red Sox fan and had to be tormented by Matsui for many years in the Bronx. Matsui came with a lot of hype, and he did follow through with it, and he performed very well. So when you have hitters, particularly from Asia, whether it's Japan or Korea, that have this kind of hype, you're talking about something that's going to be pretty special. Is there enough in the San Francisco roster to say this is a team that's going to be there with the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks? I don't think that's the case yet, and I think they do have a better manager in house now with Bob Melvin taking over from Kapler. I think that's going to be a huge boost, which we've seen what a good manager can do to an above average roster. Yep. Go to the Texas Rangers. Bruce Bochy. I'm not putting Bob Melvin on the level of Bruce Bochy, because Bruce Bochy is a Hall of Fame manager. He'll be in the Hall of Fame here once he's absolutely done. But Bob Melvin has a good track record himself. He's just dealt with a lot of bad stuff that he's had to continue to face and deal with, being the San Diego Padres and the nonsense he had to put up with there. I think he can help turn this club around in San Francisco and be a factor to elevate this roster to the level that they could be competitive with the Dodgers and Diamondbacks. Do they have the team to do it, though? That's to be determined. I don't think they do. I don't think signing Jung-Hoo Lee is enough for them. They have to have more. I think, and that's where they are. I'll use this as a sports analysis, a sports comparison here. The San Francisco Giants is relative to the Dallas Mavericks of the NBA, where the Dallas Mavericks, for a period of time, for those who are basketball fans listening, always went to the superstar player. They tried to get the free agent superstar every single year. Mark Cuban tried and could not get a single one of them to sign with the Dallas Mavericks. San Francisco Giants over the last 2 years with Aaron Judge, who supposedly had an agreement in place, changed his mind and went back to the Yankees. Mm-hmm. And now they were in line with Ohtani, had an agreement, one of the three teams that had the agreement with Ohtani, and he chose to go to the Dodgers, their rival. So right now that they are putting a lot of their eggs in one basket, and those eggs are breaking pretty quickly right now. And so getting Lee is a good start, but they still need more pieces to be. They have good pitching. They have the pitching right now. I think that can be pretty competitive, but do they have the offense? I think that's the bigger issue. And I don't think Holy is enough. They need another bat. They need a little bit more consistency to be able to go. Maybe another bullpen pitcher, to add to them. But can they be competitive? Yeah, they can be competitive. But are you going to be competitive enough with a team that was in the World Series, the Arizona Diamondbacks, which is up and coming, mm-hmm. and that they're going to be even better in 2024, and the LA Dodgers, who obviously just signed one of the best players in baseball, one of the best players in the world, and they're adding more and more to their roster to be the best team in Major League Baseball. That's where you have to draw the line at and say that the Giants are they going to be that level? And I don't think they are right as of right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you said, the Giants are they're not upper echelon of the division, but like I said, the pitching staff, because looking at them right now, it's Matt Shoemaker, Logan Webb, who pretty good, D. Scalfini, Ross Stripling, so they definitely have some arms. We'll have to see where Lee kind of factors into the lineup, because you have Lamont Wade, Estrada, Yastrzemski, Flores, Conforto, Davis, Mitch Haniger. It's okay, not a great lineup. And if you're dealing with Dodgers, Diamondbacks, those are two teams that can put up runs. So it's like you said. Will their pitching staff be able to hold those teams enough for the Giants to score enough? And if not, they just won't be able to hang with those teams.
They will pitch really well. But I think the question of their offense, can they score with the Diamondbacks and the Dodgers in the West, and even going to the whole National League? You still got the Braves that are still there, and with the lineup they still have. You have the Chicago Cubs, which are still a pretty – even right now, even though we know they don't have Cody Bellinger in line, it's a decent lineup there. You have the Philadelphia Phillies they're still stacked in their lineup. So right now, if you compare where they're at, they're not anywhere near the top of the National League in regards of offense or even just team wise. There's a lot of holes to that lineup still. So yeah, I mean, are they going to be better? Yeah, I think they're going to be better than what they were in 2023. But is that enough to be, like I said, a contender for the division, let alone a contender for the National League? No, it's not.
Let's see, and then. Oh, because I just saw that the Braves made a move with the Padres. They got themselves Matt Carpenter, who's kind of been bouncing around a little bit here. They got a lefty, Ray Kerr, and some cash from the Padres for Drew Campbell. I mean, look, Carpenter's 38. He's not the youngest guy, but I mean, he can still hit a little bit. Still got a little juice in the bat. I mean, do you think what does he do for the Braves?
He won't be. So it was more of a salary addition that they've already come out and said Carpenter's going to be a trade piece for another move here pretty soon. So and the Braves have been doing that a lot. They've made, I think it's been 3 other trades prior to this one where they took salary on and then added that into a deal to make a move for. And that's what they're essentially going to be doing with Matt Carpenter in this. Is he's not going to be an Atlanta Brave for very long. It was just an addition just to make the trade go through to get Ray Kerr and to get the cash out of the deal to pay for the contract of Matt Carpenter, and then they'll flip that around. They'll flip that with the money into a separate trade and go from there with it. But so they're loading up the bullpen right now. That's what the Braves are doing. They realize too, and again, and more importantly, they're getting left-handed arms. They're adding Ray Kerr, a lefty pitcher, Aaron Bummer. They traded for from the White Sox, lefty pitcher. They know they're getting Tyler Matzik back from Tommy John in mid 2024, around June. So and we've seen what Tyler Matzik can do as a relief pitcher. You have AJ Minter, you have Dylan. They're loading up lefty arms because they know that's something that, again, when you come across a team like the Philadelphia Phillies. When you have Bryce Harper over there, you can't keep throwing right-handed pitchers against him. You're going to have to be able to attack him with lefties, and that's what they're trying to be able to do. Shohei Ohtani is now in the National League as well. Guess what? You're going to need to throw lefties against them. So they're loading up left-handed arms right now in Atlanta in their bullpen, and the bullpen's getting stronger and stronger, which they were a really good bullpen in 2023, and they've been in one of the better bullpens in the last 3 years on top of that. So you're adding pieces to it even more and getting stronger and being able to and adding depth, which is we've seen injuries have happened. Injuries happen to a lot of teams throughout, but they're adding depth pieces who Ray Kerr does have an option as well. So if something happens and need an option to the minor leagues in 2024, they can do that. So it creates so much versatility to the roster and to the lineup or to the bullpen for the 2024 season, bringing in Kerr. But for Matt Carpenter, he won't be on the roster. He won't be at spring training or he won't be on the roster for very long. He certainly won't be at spring training. They're going to flip him in his contract and the money they got from the Padres and be able to do another deal. What deal? I think they're trying to load up. And again, this is just my speculation because I know Dylan Cease is still a big target for the Braves that they're trying to get. I think they're loading up money right now to try in these deals to flip a player along with prospects to the White Sox to be able to get Dylan Cease. So that's something I'm kind of anticipating happening, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, at least before the new year. But more likely could happen if things kind of are progressing, because I know there's still a lot of other pitchers that are out there. But Tyler Glasnow's trade kind of opened up a little bit more of the trade market with pitchers. That's why I kind of feel like it's going to happen over the next couple of weeks, at least maybe before Christmas. But if it doesn't, it'll absolutely go. Dylan Cease trade will happen after the new year. But if they're progressing as quickly as I think they can, it'll probably get done before Christmas. But they're loading up money to be able to add to the deal. Because right now, if you look at the Braves and farm system, it's not the greatest. Something we've seen in the past with Braves that they have one of the best farms in the baseball. They haven't had that in the last couple of years. I mean, obviously, Michael Harris, who is one of the better players in the minors, he's in the big leagues. Austin Riley, same thing over the last few years. Spencer Strider. So, I mean, these guys that were top level, they're in the big leagues tearing it up right now. So you don't need a strong farm when you're so young on your roster, on your 25 or 26-man roster. You don't need to have your farm system be so strong. So they're loading up money to throw to the White Sox, as well as a couple prospects that will balance out the deal for, again, speculating the White Sox could be a different team, could be a different move that they're making, but they're having to load up the money to be able to do so, to pair off with some of the prospects they have that they're willing to trade. But obviously there's a handful that they're not wanting to unload just yet. So that's why they're loading up the extra money in these deals that they've been bringing in salary and then flipping the guys and trading them as well later on in the next few days.
All right, so Braves fans, be on the lookout. JG said it here. Dylan Cease is on his way. But yeah, I mean, he's definitely a guy that people are looking and posturing to go get, because we know the White Sox, they're not going to be competitive, and they're probably going to sell some more pieces as well. But going back, because I hope I'm saying this right, Anthony Lopez. If I said it wrong, my bad. Brought up "Go Yankees" as a Red Sox fan. It's very offensive to me. I'm just kidding.
Very offensive to me as well.
But no, I mean, look, looking at the Yankees, they've made a couple of moves themselves. They got Juan Soto. They got Verdugo from my Red Sox, which, I mean, Verdugo was gonna go somewhere. He's just made that dreaded move of going from the Red Sox to the Yankees, so he'll now be public enemy number one when the Yankees visit Fenway Park.
Let me ask you real quick as a Red Sox fan. I know Verdugo is not the same level as Johnny Damon. Does it kind of feel like a Johnny Damon move where he went from the Red Sox to the Yankees? And again, I know not the level because Damon was such an icon as far as just his personality. He was such a Red Sox player throughout his career, but then going to the neighbors, to the Yankees, essentially, does it kind of feel like the same thing with Verdugo right now?
I mean, it does and it doesn't, because like amongst Red Sox fans, oddly enough, I feel like the one that they hate the most was Ellsbury. They hated Ellsbury when he did it, although when he went to New York, he didn't really do much over there.
Right.
I think Damon was like second behind Ellsbury. I think Verdugo will be a probably in third. But yeah, he was kind of the guy who, once Ortiz left, he kind of became the biggest personality on the team. Even though when he first got there, he didn't really say much, but then something like unlocked in him. He became kind of the face of the Red Sox. So yeah, in that case, then yeah, I do think a Damon-like move is very comparable, because Damon was known as kind of the leader of the idiots of the group with he and Millar, the guys that just seem like after a game, they'd probably go to a sports bar, hang out all night, and then play the next day. But yeah, it's definitely shocking anytime you see those two teams trade with each other. But yeah, Verdugo was on the block. He was going to go somewhere because they have kind of some young guys who've come up that they want to make sure they have a spot for. I mean, Yoshida came in last year, so he's already got an outfield spot. Duran finally seems to have figured it out after a year or so of him looking like he might not even be a center fielder with all the speed he had, but he lacked like awareness when the ball was hit to him. But he came into his own last year. They want to make sure there's a spot open for him. And then I guess the third outfielder spot would be if they can re-sign Duvall. Maybe he sticks out in the outfield, but if not, they have Abreu, who came up last year and showed a lot of promise at the plate. So it just wasn't really room for Verdugo. So, look, I like Verdugo. Unfortunately, he's with the Yankees, so I can't like him anymore. And I hope he fails miserably like a lot of free agents who've kind of gone there, which is a little bit weird. But I guess my question I was going to bring up was, looking at the addition of Soto and Verdugo, depending on how you think about him, he's, can hit for average, which is something that lineup definitely needs. And looking at what the Dodgers did, looking at the two lineups, who would you say? Because I saw this question on Wire to Wire, so Gene, I'm stealing this from the show. But Stacking them up right now, side by side, which lineup would you take? The Dodgers or the Yankees? I have them pulled up. I can tell you the projected lineup and whether or not you agree with this or not, but this is what they have for the Yankees. They have DJ LeMahieu leading off with Aaron Judge, Juan Soto as the third hole hitter, Rizzo, cleanup, Gleyber Torres, Verdugo hitting sixth, Giancarlo Stanton in the 7 hole, Volpe 8, Austin Wells 9. That's the Yankees lineup. The Dodgers, they have.
So real, I'm gonna write this down. Okay. Being a coach, I'm gonna write it down. I may actually write out my own lineup for you guys here. So give me the Yankees. Give me the Yankees again, real quick.
That's what this show's about. We're tapping into the genius of JG. They have DJ LeMahieu leading off. Aaron Judge is the 2 hole. Juan Soto, Rizzo at cleanup, Gleyber Torres, Verdugo 6, Giancarlo Stanton 7, Volpe 8, Austin Wells 9. So you want me to give you the Dodgers one, or you want to kind of break down the Yankee lineup first?
Go ahead and give me the Dodgers.
All right. So for the Dodgers, they have Mookie Betts leading off, Shohei at 2, Freddie Freeman hitting 3rd, Will Smith 4, Max Muncy 5, James Outman 6, Chris Taylor 7, Jason Hayward 8, Gavin Lux 9.
And one more time. So Betts, Ohtani, Freeman, Smith,
Muncy, Outman, Taylor, Hayward, Lux.
Okay. To answer the question, as far as if you're talking about the lineups for right now, lineups for both teams right now, there's some holes still from both teams, and obviously it was one with the Dodgers. We don't know what Gavin Lux is going to be like just yet after coming off of ACL surgery, and that's why I don't have a problem with him batting ninth at that point, just because again, how healthy is he going to be? How much is he going to play in 2024 as well? Is he going to be more of a rotational piece in 2024 until they assure that he is fully healthy? Because again, yes, he tore his ACL in spring training or early on in spring training, which he'll have a full, by the time he gets to the 2024 spring training, it's a full calendar year. We'll see a little bit more of what he can be like through as the season goes. But in the back of my mind, being a Braves fan, we saw what a Ronald Acuna looked like after ACL surgery. Now, from 2021 to 2022, granted, it was in the middle of the season when he tore it, and he came back before a full calendar year from the time that he tore it. So a little bit different situation that the Dodgers are in with Gavin Lux, but he is going to be their everyday shortstop. They'll maybe make him a rotational piece at least until to assure that he's going to be fully healthy and fully ready to go. If you have to ask me, as far as with the lineups, which is the best lineup right now, it's the Dodgers. The Dodgers have the better of the 2 lineups. Now, again, I was going to give my perspective here on it. The problem with the Yankees is they don't have a true leadoff hitter. They still don't have a true leadoff hitter. DJ LeMahieu, as much I love DJ being an LSU guy, I've loved watching him back down in Baton Rouge and what he's done through his career in MLB, but he's not a leadoff hitter. And if you have to pick, and that's where you look at Torres. If Torres was able to be developed and be able to develop and be able to be a player that they think he could have been, or at least shown that he could have achieved his expectations, Torres could be a pretty decent leadoff type of hitter. So if I were to, again, but that's the big question is what hitter or what player are we getting out of Gleyber Torres right now at this stage of his career? He's not a leadoff hitter, but they don't have anybody else. So I would, but for the sheer purpose, I'd give him a chance. I'd give Gleyber Torres a chance more than I would give DJ LeMahieu right now. Okay. Because at this point, at this stage of LeMahieu's career, he's not that hitter anymore. If we're talking about 4 or 5 years ago, yes, DJ LeMahieu is the leadoff hitter. But right now, that's not who he is. I would go with Torres batting leadoff here. I would actually go with Soto batting 2. I would not put. Okay. I would put Soto batting 2 in front of Judge batting 3. Rizzo batting 4. I think that's a good spot for him. I'd give Stanton. I'd probably move Stanton up because, again, at this point, you know what he can bring. Yes, he's a high strikeout guy, but he still has the power. But he's going to be your DH. And I think batting a right, with Soto lefty, righty with Judge, lefty with Rizzo, and you have Stanton batting right-handed behind him, batting 5th. I think that would be a great spot for him to be at, batting right behind Anthony Rizzo. I think Verdugo batting 6 is a good spot for him there. That's when I would bat LeMahieu batting seventh, Volpe and Wells batting eighth and ninth. And it kind of creates, like I said, it's a right, left, where you have Soto, Judge, protecting each other, but you have more speed on the base where Soto still can get base hits. He'll hit the ball hard. He'll get on base, and guess what? You have Aaron Judge to drive him in behind. So I think that's a better combination, more so than Judge batting ahead of Soto. But you have that lefty with Rizzo again. Versus the predicted lineup was Judge, Soto, Rizzo, righty, lefty. I think that's going to be a little bit of an easier path to how you pitch them. Versus Soto, Judge, Rizzo, Stanton, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 2, 3, 4, 5 in that case from there. And then I said you have Verdugo, who's a contact hitter. He's going to spray the ball around the field. He'll hit the ball hard in the gaps. And then you have LeMahieu. If you get a good DJ LeMahieu, he's going to do the same thing. And you can turn the lineup card over a little bit better where the pressure of Volpe and Wells is not as high anymore. So that's how I would structure that lineup would be Gleyber Torres batting leadoff. Again, he's not a leadoff hitter. I get it. But you don't have anybody else to bat leadoff. But Gleyber Torres batting leadoff, Juan Soto batting 2, Judge batting 3, Rizzo 4, Stanton 5, Verdugo 6, LeMahieu 7, Volpe and Wells 8 and 9. For the Dodgers lineup, and I said, I think between these two lineups here, the Dodgers do have the better of the two lineups because, again, one thing you do have is you do have a true leadoff hitter. Mookie Betts can bat two. He can bat leadoff and he can bat 2. Whichever way you want to be able to utilize him, he can bat in either one of those spots. But in this lineup, with how you have, he's going to be a better leadoff hitter for you, and he's going to set the tone for you. So Betts batting leadoff is a great spot that I put him at. I think Ohtani batting 2 is a perfect spot for him as well. A little bit different. So I kind of contradict myself. Every lineup and every is going to be different. I like the lefty-righty combo with the Yankees. I'm not necessarily going to have that here because, again, I have Ohtani and I have Freddie Freeman. Freeman batting 3 behind Shohei Ohtani. I think that's a great spot for him. I actually would like to see Max Muncy bat 4th behind Freddie Freeman. Because, again, it's the same thing. Freeman has power, but he's been in his career. He's a 300-plus hitter throughout his career. He's going to get on base. He's going to hit doubles. You want someone who's known to drive in batters a little bit more. I know Will Smith is a really good hitting catcher, but that's the point. He's a catcher, so he's not going to be behind the lineup. He's not going to be in there every game. Max Muncy is going to be one of those guys that you need in this lineup to provide. Because, again, Freeman, protection behind those guys, 1, 2, 3, it matters most. That 4 spot in this lineup now is going to be even more important, and that's where you need Max Muncy to be. What you need to figure out, the Muncy we saw him just a few years ago, the World Series here, that we've seen, he can be that. This lineup is going to be even more dangerous because you provide the power to go with the guys ahead of you. So I put Muncy batting 4. Will Smith batting 5. I move him down 1 spot again. Takes a little bit of pressure off of not having to be the sole run producer batting 4. He can bat 5 with a little bit of that less pressure, but you also can be able to maneuver when you bring in the next catcher, like when you need to give him a day off. You can move the lineup around a little bit easier and provide a little bit of a different structure from there. Outman, I mean, that kid, he was a rookie this past year. Impressed a lot. I like him batting 6. I think at some point you're going to see Gavin Lux bat higher. I think we'll see that. But I know this is just from right now. But I think I'll go and predict. I think Gavin Lux will bat 7. Taylor batting 8th. Jason Hayward batting 9th. Just because, again, you at this stage of Hayward's career, he's not the player that we expected him to be. Or what the Braves expected him to be. He's kind of, he's a rotational player. He's going to be someone that you're going to platoon in the outfield. And again, that's something. Again, it's a spot where if you need a platoon, you can maneuver those lineups around a little bit easier with a bottom of the order guy versus someone at the top of the order. So, and I know Hayward batting 8th, not necessarily a top of the order guy, but it allows you a little bit more flexibility from there. So. Again, I like the bets, Ohtani, Freeman 1, 2, 3, but I went and changed it up with Max Muncy batting 4, Will Smith batting 5. I like Outman batting 6. I've moved Gavin Lux set to 7 because I think that's where he's going to be once he is fully healthy. Maybe even batting 6 in front of Outman. Chris Taylor batting 8th, and Jason Hayward finishing it up, rounding it out with batting 9th. That would be the lineup that I would write for the LA Dodgers in 2024.
Okay. I mean, like I said, get into that coach's mind. Because, I mean, I know with watching Alex Cora, he's kind of a proponent of the lefty-righty lefty lineup as well. Because, with today and, well, kind of not really today, but previous years with a lot of specialists who'd come in, because now pitchers, when they come in, they have to face 3 batters, so you can even maneuver that a little bit as well. But it just brings balance to the lineup. Mm-hmm. Because we have a set of lefties together, then, like I said, you bring in a lefty reliever that kind of mitigates how effective those guys can be.
Which with the pitching rules that a pitching change, a reliever has to face 3 batters. Mm-hmm. So if you have a specialist, a lefty pitcher, he's going to, and you have a mixture of lefty, righty, he's going to see at least one righty in that mix versus, him in there and seeing more majority lefties. That's going to give him the advantage. So yeah, it's a good structure to have to where you balance out the lineup that way. But again, for certain teams, it's not necessary. Dodgers being one. Again, you're with Freeman, how Freeman hits lefties and righties, equally. He's just as good as hitting lefties as he is righties. Ohtani's the same way. He'll hit lefties just as well as he'll hit righties. So when you have that aspect, it's okay to kind of stack lefties at that point. But for the team like the Yankees, it's going to be more important to where you can balance out and create that structure of lefty righty to where it negates that matchup that you teams will take advantage of you, and that's what got them in trouble. It got them in trouble in, not just in 2023, but it got them in trouble in past years too, where they're a little bit more right-handed heavy teams. That's why they did go get Anthony Rizzo at the deadline last year. They wanted to make sure they can go get a little bit more lefty hitters. That's why they traded for Joey Gallo. It just didn't work out for Gallo there. So they made opportunities to bring in lefty hitters. It just never worked out for them because they are a dominant right-handed hitting team.
Right. And that's why I also think with the Yankees, yes, I hate them getting Verdugo, but he kind of represents what they need. Past couple of years, it'd be once you got past Judge and Rizzo, there's a lot of high strikeout guys. Mm-hmm. So even if Judge and Rizzo got on base, for a lot of times they would end up being stationary and couldn't go anywhere. But now having Verdugo around the 6th spot, he's a guy who could spray a ball to left field, spray one into the gap and right, and now if you have a couple of guys on, you might score a few of them. He's just he's an average guy. He's not a boomer bust. He'll hit them maybe 15, 16 home runs. He'll drive in a few runs, but his batting average is going to be key to that lineup because that's definitely something that they need, especially when they go up against like the Astros and stuff. That's usually where they run into trouble. The lineup turns into, hopefully we could put 2 guys on and Aaron Judge can hit one out. If not, we're not scoring any runs.
Well, what Verdugo brings for the Yankees too is, and it was such a big topic talking about the Yankees in 2023. He brings youth. They got younger. Juan Soto's 25 years old. Verdugo's 27 years old. And we're not even talking about Trent Grisham, who was part of the Soto trade. He's 27 years old. Mm-hmm. So you got a little bit more youth in this team that you did not have, especially in the outfield. That the one part of this team that I don't like is that they're going to play Aaron Judge full-time center field. And I think a 6'7", 6'8", 260-pound, freak of nature athlete. Yes, he is a freak of nature athlete, but he's an injury history athlete playing center field, which is a very taxing position in the outfield. He's gotten hurt a lot of playing right field. You're going to ask him to play center field? Yeah. That's where I don't like that. Again, for the Yankees, I don't like that aspect of it. You're not going to put Juan Soto's never played center field, so you're not going to ask him to go play center field. Verdugo's not a center fielder himself either. Trent Grisham is a center fielder, but guess what? Trent Grisham's a 198 hitter, so you're not going to put him in the lineup every day. He's going to be someone that you can put in there for defensive purposes, play in the 7th and 8th inning if you need him to. Give some spells, play out in a game or two to move Judge out of the center field spot, and put and kind of maneuver him as a DH or whatnot. But having Judge play center field is going to be very questionable to see, and I think again, especially if the injuries continue to pile up for him, and if that's the case, how does this lineup again? It goes back to the same question we've seen over the last few years of Aaron Judge. How does this lineup look without Judge in there still? I think it's going to be a little bit better because, as you said, Verdugo's a hitter. He will get on base. He will hit for you. Juan Soto's now there to at least take pressure off of Judge. But can Soto carry the lineup by himself if Judge is not there and he's hurt again. That's the big question to be. And again, I don't have any confidence that Giancarlo Stanton is going to be the one to kind of rediscover himself and be that third piece of the lineup. Anthony Rizzo is the same. He's at this point of his career, he's not the guy that we saw 5, 6, 7 years ago. So you do have you have a Robin to the Batman of Aaron Judge, New York pun, but when you have that, how long can Juan Soto carry this lineup? As it's a better lineup, but it's still not an elite lineup. How can that be? So you're hoping Judge does not have another injury-riddled season, and he can stay healthy to be able to pair off with Soto and have this lineup be pretty good.
Yeah, like I said, Soto and Verdugo can hit for average. And last year when Judge was out, that lineup was nothing but 200 hitters.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, those two are gonna have to be big contributors to the Yankee lineup. John asked in the chat, appreciate everybody tuning in. Got Freddie in here, John, Daniel Barry, what's up, Mo, what's going on? So John said Yankees should get rid of Stanton. I mean, yes, I get that because I don't know who this Stanton guy is, but he's swinging wildly at like sliders off the plate. He can't move on the bases anymore. I don't know what's going on, Stan, but I just don't know. How would you move him? Like who's going to take that on right now?
And that's easier said than done. I mean, right. I'm sure the Yankees would love to be able to move on from Stanton and that contract mostly. But the problem is any trade that you do of Stanton, you're going to eat the money. It's guaranteed. It's guaranteed contracts. Yeah. So whether you release him and you pay him to not play for you, or you trade him, and guess what? You pay him to not play for you, and you're still paying because again, no team will take on that deal. No team's going to be able to make a Stanton trade. Yankees are going to have to eat at least 80% of the remaining contract that's there, and I'm being very generous saying 80%. Because I think the teams that are going to want that would be interested are going to be the small market teams. You could throw a name. I'd say this: a team that could be interested in Stanton, Miami Marlins, the team that he did play for, returns back to Miami. A team that's in the up and coming. Could he? Again, if they make a move and say, "Hey, pay 85% of the remaining of the contract." We'll take the 15%, which that's a decent amount. It's still a decent amount, but it's relative to what the Marlins could pay, and bring him back and be a DH. Because they lost, they're going to lose Jorge Soler at this point. If we're talking about a trade now, if we're talking about a trade right now for Giancarlo Stanton, Jorge Soler is going to be on his way out of Miami, so the DH spot is going to be open a little bit. I think if you can find a way to make that work, where the Yankees take on a majority of that contract, I think the Marlins could be a pretty decent fit for him at that point. But other teams that are out there, they're not going to want Giancarlo Stanton because he's a shell of his former self. Yes. He's not the same player. He still has the power, but the power is not there as frequent as we've seen in past years. So that's where the contract is going to have to be a big question point, is how much of the money is the Yankees willing to eat to make that move. If George Steinbrenner was still the owner, it probably would have already been done.
Yeah.
Hal and Hank don't like wasting money. And that's a waste. If you pay a player to play for somebody else, that's a waste of money. So they'd rather keep them and just hope he can do something, hope he can produce. And if he can't, then you have to live with what you have at that point.
John had another question as well. So you think the Dodgers front office is going to go all out and go for Yamamoto, since now you're getting Ohtani for $2 million a year for 10 years? Basically, you have the room to offer him money to fold Yankees' hand. Yeah, why wouldn't they at this point? Sign everybody. Why not?
And that's kind of what the Dodgers are doing right now. I mean, again, you were able to make a trade and sign Tyler Glass now. That's again brilliant on the Dodgers' part. Even more brilliant to the Ohtani for wanting to do it. And basically saying, I'll agree to do this if you build a team that's competitive. Because again, we talked about the Angels a little bit ago. Angels didn't build a team competitive for him. They tried, but they failed every single time. And they failed Mike Trout for his career as well. So Ohtani got to see it firsthand. And he says, I don't want to go through my legacy is as the best player in baseball only matters if I'm playing in the postseason and I'm competing for championships. that's what it matters most for, to Ohtani. He's made that very, very known. So he went to the Dodgers, and I think there's other teams that you could probably sit there and say that, again, with the Dodgers, Braves being one. You could talk about the Rangers. I know there's conversations about the Rangers being interested in Ohtani. There's other teams that you could probably sit there and make an argument for that are championship caliber teams. But what I guess what we kind of misunderstood when he talked about wanting to play for a competitor was he's going to structure the contract to allow the team to build a competitor. And so brilliant, and he's not hurting. He makes $50 million in endorsements in Japan. Exactly. He makes endorsements here in the United States as well. So he's not hurting. It's not going to set him back financially to take $2 million, instead of what he probably should be, out of the $70 million that he's signed for. But the structure does allow the Dodgers to do what they're needing to do. They're still in play for Yamamoto. They are still in play despite trading for and signing Tyler Glass now. They are still in play. So it's a matter right now of waiting and seeing what Yamamoto is going to do. He's been doing his free agency tour right now, enjoying the sights of Major League Baseball teams and seeing and listening to their pitches. But at the moment, don't count the Dodgers out of this. They are still involved with this with Yamamoto, and I think they're going to be to the last second. If they don't sign him, they'll still be in the running all the way until he does agree somewhere.
The Dodgers are trying to pull the Heat, the Heatles. Remember when they got Wade, Bosch, LeBron all together, and they became the most hated team? That's clearly what the Dodgers are going for. John has another question that kind of goes off of Curran, who was in here earlier, where he said Scherzer's out until June or July with the back surgery. So John asks, is this Scherzer's last year we see him in the MLB? This is his final year, and he's 40 years old now, with back surgery. And for a pitcher, I mean, look, that's gotta be kind of pushing it, coming back from that at his advanced age and trying to still be an effective pitcher in this league.
I couldn't imagine. I had back surgery at 32 years old. I couldn't imagine what back surgery at 40, 41 years old is going to feel like for him. More likely, yes. I think this is his last year. He's going to be out until at least mid-season. The injuries have continued to pile up year after year. They have not gotten any better from him. He's already been dealing with a lot of shoulder issues on top of it too. Yeah. If I had to take a guess, if I was a betting man and wanted to bet money that this might be Max Scherzer's last year, I would say yes. I would put money on it that this would be the case. I think at this stage of his career and what he's achieved, and even walking into a World Series ring with the Rangers, and throwing that, he got a World Series ring with the Nationals on top of it too. So, what else? What more at this stage of his career can he do? Could he do? And so, obviously, wanting to make sure that he goes out on his own terms is probably why we haven't heard anything as far as him retiring right now, or if there's any conversations of retiring. He wants to go on his own terms. Doesn't want to make it where it's have to retire because of injury. But if I had to make a bet on it, I think this is Max Scherzer's last year. And the way the contract was structured that he signed with the Mets last year, that traded to with the Rangers, is structured to make it basically be his last year as well.
Yeah, I mean, the end of a great pitcher, like you said, one with the Nationals, one with the Rangers. As John says, he has his 2 rings. I mean, he can go home with that. I've got a few more minutes left here in the show. I want to talk about actually a couple of small market teams because the Rays are in the news because it seems like they're finally going to get a new ballpark. About time. The amount of times I've seen them having to explain the catwalks and which ones are in play and which ones whatever, it's too much. So it seems like they're on their way to a ballpark. Like I said, finally, and they're also looking at a name change. They don't want to be the Tampa Bay Rays. They want to be the St. Petersburg Rays. I guess that's more of I don't know. It's going to sound weird the first couple of years, but I mean, looking at the Rays, I'm sure you agree with me. The ballpark, it has to go, right?
It does. It does absolutely has to go. It's not an iconic ballpark. It's not it's not anything special. So you talk about past stadiums as far as dome wise. You talk about Olympic Stadium in Montreal. You talk about the Astrodome in Houston, the King Dome in Seattle. Those are iconic type stadiums that you could talk about. Well, this is not one of them. This is a stadium that has been a lot of, you're talking about this one in Oakland, the Coliseum in Oakland, are one of the two most complained about ballparks that you have, and the most run down ballparks on top of it. But this is my opinion on this. Is there a franchise or a fan? I won't say the franchise. Is there a fan base that deserves a stadium least than Tampa Bay fans? Like, you had a play. I get it's not a great stadium, but you had a playoff series, a home playoff series in the wild card, and you couldn't sell out. You couldn't even sell out half the stadium. You had 15,000 people show up to game one, and you were embarrassed. That's why you were able to get 20,000 to show up in game two. This fan base does not deserve a new stadium, because they deserve to move the team. And I think that should be the case more, because if I had to pick an American League team that I root for almost on a yearly basis, it is Tampa Bay. I love the franchise. I love the players and what in their system and what they do. And they're a team that does not need to be competitive. They have no business being competitive, but at the same time, they find ways to be competitive. Their system is absolutely amazing on how they run the franchise and be able to build within and be able to do things that nobody expects them to do. And they're competitive every year. But the fan base does not appreciate it. I get it. You're not having household names. You're not signing the big name guys, but you're developing young superstars. Yeah. You have Randy Arozarena, who's a homegrown. Again, he was traded, but he came through your system and be able to be an all-star in your system and be able to do what he's doing in the ballpark. And you can't go watch that. You can't go watch this team be amazing. A fan base that does not deserve a new stadium. That is Tampa Bay. And they're the opposite. I would say this: they're the opposite of the Oakland fan base. Oakland A's are great fans. They just had enough of their owner. They had enough of what they were doing, what the owner was doing to them. That's not the case here in Tampa. They win. Tampa wins almost on a yearly basis. They compete for a division title on a yearly basis over the last few years, and the fans don't show up. So is it great for the team? Sure, it is great for the team to get a new stadium. But do I want to see Tampa, or St. Petersburg get a new stadium? Absolutely not. Move the damn team. Move them to Nashville. I think that'd be a great spot for them. And Nashville, it's already been kind of talked about that Nashville's going to get a team. Just take Tampa and move them up north to Tennessee, and let a fan base that actually is dying to have a team enjoy it. But right now, I can't be happy for the fan base to get this stadium, because they don't deserve it. But for the team itself, if there's a commitment to being there for long term by the team, great. New stadium would be amazing, would be awesome. I just don't think that fan base absolutely deserves it one bit.
Yeah, I completely agree, because like you said, the A's would love to have a new stadium, because they were sitting there going to a dump and still supporting the team. I guarantee you, if the A's made the playoffs last season, they would not have 15,000. They would show up, and that place would be rocking. So, yeah, I don't know what the Rays have going on and what they can do to fix that. But
the A's would love an owner. The A's would love an owner just to want to plan out a stadium in Oakland.
Yeah, absolutely. Because that's how the story goes. His demands for Oakland were much higher than for Vegas, because clearly he just wants to be in Vegas. John said that the Royals plan on building a new one in 2028.
Yes.
I love Kauffman Stadium, whatever it's called now. The water fountains are always cool to me. It shows well on TV. So I hope that the new stadium still has that kind of aspect to it.
So to bring that up, yes, the new stadium plans are gonna include water fountains similar to what they have currently in their stadium. So that is gonna be, and they're gonna build the new trend of stadiums is kind of in not to brag about my Braves, but the Braves have kind of, as far as Major League Baseball, have started this trend of stadium, and then the outside of stadium fan experience with the Battery in Atlanta. That's the new trend right now. And Major League Baseball teams are starting to want that. The Texas Rangers, their new stadium here, they have that outside of their stadium with Texas Live. So you're seeing these teams are wanting not just new stadiums now, but they're wanting the fan experience outdoors. So if you sell out 35 to 40,000 people in your stadium, you're going to have another 25 to 30,000 people on your property in restaurants and bars and buying gear and everything like that outside. So almost 100,000 people close to it. They'll be on your, in the vicinity for games almost on a nightly basis. That's what they're trying to do. And that's what the Royals are wanting to do as well. So they're gonna move to where they can get the fan experience outside as well as with a new stadium to be able to build and have a better experience for the fans that way as well. But yeah, the fountains, from what I've heard and about, is they're going to do the fountains in the new stadium as well.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely good to hear. I mean, look, we're up just past the hour. The hour went by quick. I always love talking baseball with you, JG, and the chat. Appreciate all of you. John said Braves built a new stadium because the old stadium traffic was terrible, and now there's room. Huge Braves fan here, lives in North Carolina.
Very true. I mean, I'm a Braves fan as well. Very true that they wanted to get away from the traffic of downtown Atlanta, but the extra room that they have land-wise allowed them to do the Battery, and that's what was more enticing. The traffic was going to be what it was, but at the same time, is be able to have the Battery is what the owners wanted more than anything else. They could not have that in downtown Atlanta, and that's why they moved to Cobb County.
Yeah, trust me. In Atlanta, you're not avoiding the traffic. I don't care where you put it, unless you're going to put it way South Georgia or further up north. You're going to get traffic everywhere. But yeah, I mean that's a good place to kind of end this one. Hopefully you guys come back that are in the chat, throw some more questions out at us. Like I said, hopefully Thursday we'll have JG and Aaron on at the same time. That might be too much fun for y'all, but hopefully we can make it happen. But JG, you got anything to say before we get out of here?
I always appreciate the opportunity. I love doing this, and this was a great idea on your part to set this up. And like I said, hopefully we can get all of us together finally and make this show complete. So I'm looking forward to next Thursday, and we can make this happen again.
Yes, absolutely. Mo said, great job. Appreciate that, Mo. So like I said, be back Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern. Like I said, JG, Aaron, and myself will talk about more with free agency. If there's another big signing, we'll definitely have to talk about that. If the Dodgers sign every other big name free agent, we'll continue to talk about the Dodgers. But make sure you're here. Make sure you like, subscribe, share, follow, all that good stuff with the network. Plenty of things going on. We got TD Queens and Hoop Dreams tomorrow with Key and Jory. They'll give you the women perspective. They're the two women on the network. Got them their own show. Great fun. Make sure you tune into that. Plenty of great shows on the network, so you won't be disappointed. So for myself and JG, enjoy the rest of your night. We'll see you later. Have a good one.